So today I will be sharing with you two different projects. The first one is on EPSO Academy, and the second one will be about EPSO's equality and diversity management. So let's start with the first one. EPSO Academy. So what is EPSO Academy? EPSO Academy is a fully integrated learning, development and accreditation program to create a pool of experts in selection processes, tools and procedures ready to act as selection board members, as assessors for EPSO selection procedures. But what was the starting point to create this EPSO Academy? Well, actually, we were trying to address various issues related to the functioning of selection boards. And we're actually striving with this project to improve the professionalism and quality, availability, motivation, engagement, and commitment of selection board members. Another important objective of this EPSO Academy project was to rationalize the resources invested in training. Because usually we tend to train people for a one-shot experience as assessors, as selection board members, and actually this is not that efficient. As an example, we've trained over 1,800 people for one-shot experience in the past few years, so definitely we needed to come up with an idea. And the idea here was to create a reusable pool of talented experts in selection and who are actually accredited throughout a very, very detailed learning program. Who is it for? It's for established officials from across the EU institutions who are interested in becoming experts in HR management and more particularly in selection and recruitment. So it's actually for our colleagues across different institutions who are ready to help EPSO to select Europe's brightest and best for a career in the institutions. And actually they are choosing their colleagues, so it's very important they can participate. How does it work? Well, a tailor-made flexible learning program is offered to participants based on the self-regulated learning principle. They have access to their digital learning platform 24/7 in order to be able to learn at their own rhythm, any place, any time. So the idea is really to reduce the number of constraints and time spent in the traditional classroom training sessions. On their learning platform, they can find everything they need. They can find all the theory, presentations, exercises, assignments, homeworks. They have a very good library with a very solid list of specialist literature, all kinds of articles, case studies, discussion platforms, you name it. In addition, they are invited to a series of face-to-face sessions organized throughout the year to practice. But this is only to practice. So the idea is really that they can organize their learning program as they wish, at their own rhythm, and then they're invited over to practice and to ask their questions. A second important point of the project is all the support and feedback they will receive during this program. Indeed, in addition to the learning and training program, participants have the opportunity to benefit from a full mentoring program. So they will get the opportunity to choose their mentors, and their mentors are experts in selection and recruitment. So actually these are our permanent selection board members who are doing the job on a daily basis, full-time. Another important point is that they receive systematic feedback on their performance and on their learning. They will be practicing on the job, and they will be evaluated throughout the 360 evaluation system, which will allow them to really do the job and to be observed and evaluated while they're doing it. Another important point is the follow-up. So after they have completed their learning and development program, and once they become accredited for the job, they will be offered what I call the Keep Educating Yourself follow-up program, where they will receive all kinds of additional learning activities, thematic sessions, you name it, in order to keep competent and to remain active in the field of selection and recruitment. And finally, the accreditation will be done by the European School of Administration. It was very important for EPSO to outsource this step in order to make it as objective as possible. So this is how their digital learning platform looks like. So you can see it on the slide. This is their info space. So this info space was created in order to make this information accessible to everybody who can be potentially interested in joining the Academy. And here they can find everything they need to know about the program, about the job as such, because it's important to realize the type of profile and requirements of the job, because usually people sign up for it and then they realize, well, actually, this is not for me. So it's very important up front to be very, very transparent and to demystify as much as possible the job as such. They can also read about the previous session, so the pilot project. They can discover the feedback from the previous participants, their testimonials as well. On their learning platform, as you can see on this slide, there are different options. So it's an interactive, a very dynamic tool they can access, as I was saying, 24/7. And where they have their agenda, they can find back their learning materials, training materials, didactical supports, their homeworks and assignments, discussion platforms, their to-do list, the EPSO library with all kinds of different articles and interesting and specialist literature, a toolbox for selection board members. They can give their feedback and their evaluation about the program, but also they can find information about the other participants, because what is quite interesting in the project is that it offers a great networking opportunity as the project is interinstitutional. In this, on this slide, you can see the whole process. So actually, you can discover different phases. The first phase is the communication. So of course, as I was saying, the idea is to be transparent, to demystify the whole program, and to communicate to everybody equally. Then, based on a very detailed job description I made, I set up a profile for selection board members for an effective assessor, in order to allow both institutions and potential participants to realize what the job is about. And based on that, we've asked our stakeholders to pick their best talent to participate in this pilot project. In the future, the idea would be that each individual can choose to join for themselves. Then, people who were pre-selected were offered an info session where they got to learn everything about the project, but they also got the opportunity to meet their future mentors. So we've organized a speed matching session, a speed dating session, in order to allow mentors and mentees to meet, in order to get the best match possible so that they can get mentored throughout the whole process, which is a huge opportunity as well for the participants. Then they have joined the training and development program with all kinds of modules I will tell you all about. And now that they have completed the training and development program, they have joined a real competition where they will be assessed on the job. So it's very important that they actually do the job. They get observed by all kinds of people via the 360 degrees evaluation system, as I was telling you in the beginning of the presentation. And at the very end, if they pass the final test, they will get accredited, as I was saying. After that, they will join this reusable pool of talent, and they will be ready to act on a more regular basis as selection board members, as assessors for EPSO competitions. And then they will be offered all kinds of follow-up and lifelong learning activities in the context of the Keep Educating Yourself follow-up program. So about the program itself, as I was telling you, it's a flexible, self-regulated learning modular program, which is covering all kinds of tools, techniques, theories, topics that people need to be able to run an effective selection procedure. So as you can see on this slide, they will learn everything they need to know about competencies, how to observe and assess them. They will learn about their how to develop their observation skills. How do we observe, record, classify, and evaluate behaviors, which is the main technique that they will be using while they will be assessing people's competencies. But also How do I screen a CV actually? On what basis, on what criteria? How do I run an assessment center? What are the different exercises in this context? How do I observe behaviors in an oral presentation, in a group exercise, in an interview, etc.? They will also receive different tools, tips and tricks. They will learn about testing, basic psychometrics, but also very important, equal opportunities and diversity. How do we guarantee that in a selection process, for example? So all of this will be proposed, as I was telling you, in their digital learning platform, but also interactive training, face-to-face sessions, and during their mentoring program. So on this slide, you can see a general competency framework that I've developed for an effective selection board member assessor. So these are all the competencies that an assessor should have. But in addition to this, they will also get assessed, of course, on their technical skills, technical knowledge, and in addition also on their professional attitudes, including respecting ethics, equality, and diversity, as I was telling you. So what do they learn? So on this slide, you can discover the 25 learning objectives which were defined in the program and which are being covered by different learning modules and techniques. So I won't go into details, of course, but you can discover here the first 5 modules they are offered. So there is one on how and what do we measure. The second one is what is an assessment center, where they really get the opportunity to discover each exercise into details. Module 3, which is a brand new one on basic psychometrics and statistics, where we want them to understand how tests are used, how do we interpret test results. Module 4 is focusing on the art of interviewing and questioning. And finally, the Module 5 is focusing on ethics, equality, and diversity. So for each module, we've defined a certain number of learning objectives. So why take part? Because this is quite important to communicate to institutions and to participants. Well, they have different advantages on the individual level, but also on the level of their own team, department, and even institution, if you can see on this slide. So they can develop their career, they can learn new skills, they can build their HR expertise, they can network, as I said, but also for their team and department, they will have a new knowledge in-house, a new expertise they will be able to use. And this will definitely improve the local recruitment and will ensure more continuity between what EPSO is doing at a selection stage and what different institutions are doing at the recruitment stage, which is very important for us. So ultimately, this will really improve the whole selection and recruitment for everybody and make sure we get the very best ones for our civil service. On this slide, you can discover some of testimonies from our previous participants, and this is something that participants have access to onto their learning platform. Another point to convince people to join is definitely the first results we have. So the pilot is not finished yet, it's still running, but so far we can say that it was a big success. If you consider the first satisfaction results on this screen, you can see that everything is above 90%, and the evaluated trainers, very, very, very good. They were really, they appreciated the expertise, the knowledge, their communication skills, the way they were able to put across their message and to give feedback to people. Format and logistics, including the balance theory and practice, but also the didactical supports. And finally, the most important point for us, the extent to which the learning objectives were achieved. And we can see that we have reached 91.5%, and for some modules even 100%. So definitely these are very, very encouraging results. In terms of more qualitative analysis, we've also asked them to tell us what they appreciated in the program and what they really learned and what they will remember and apply. And if you consider this list, we can only realize that actually most of our learning objectives were achieved. So definitely this is a good reason to go on with the project. So what is next? So we are now ending the pilot project. The first group of participants, they're 20 from different institutions. They are now participating in a competition. They are being observed and evaluated. And this summer they will get accredited. So we will have our very first pool of experts accredited. And in the future, there are two different models. So the medium-term model is the one that we're applying now, which means that we went for additional pools of experts, and we're now training people from different grades and levels. I'm now actually busy training them. They're just now attending their learning and training program, and they still have one module to go, and I'm training now over 30 people. As to the long-term model, the idea is to really try to integrate and centralize all the learning activities, within the academy. So the pilot is only focusing on training selection board members, but in the future the idea would be really to go beyond this and actually develop different learning activities for different types of profiles and expertises. So on this slide you can see this long-term model. So the idea would be to develop a website with an online My EPSO Academy development program chooser, where people would be offered different roles and trainings and development itineraries. So based on whatever they're interested in, they will be offered an individual development itinerary. They will get the opportunity to check whether this is for them. It will be some kind of a self-selection tool where they will discover throughout the gamification how these different roles look like. Is that for them? And then they will have a much more detailed pre-selection phase where they will be asked to pass a test to see whether they have what it takes, the basics, and they will receive their entry ticket. Once they're ready to join the academy, they will be offered the training and development program, and again this will be a modular training program, and it will be really based on individuals. So it will be tailor-made. Again, based on the role they have chosen, they will be offered to do the job, and they will be assessed on the job. The accreditation process will be very comparable to the pilot project, and again, for whatever role, they will get the opportunity for life learning activities. So this is it for the EPSO Academy. So should you have any questions, please ask my colleagues in the room. And if not, don't hesitate to contact me. You have my contact details on this slide. Thank you.